Okay, so after we talked about proportions yesterday, it's going to lead into just solving different types of questions. But one of the first types is ratios. Ratios, proportions, same thing. A ratio is a comparison of two items. We'll talk about what those different ways can be. But there's three different ways that you'll be able to see ratios, where it will be written like a fraction, so like A over B, or as with a colon, where it compares A to B with the colon, and then the words A to B, so verbally. So then we talk about what we do is we set up the ratio itself, simplify if possible, and then we're going to use that to determine a missing value. So let's talk about just setting up ratios. Number 1 says 9 board games to 3 video games. So lots of ways to write it. It can be 9 to 3, like in verbiage. It can be 9 over 3, and it can be 9 colon 3. But we have to simplify those because 3 goes into 9 3 times and 3 goes into 3 1 time. So you could also see it simplified, or should see it simplified, 3 to 1, 3 over 1, or 3 colon 1. So lots of different ways. Then we have number 2, which is 18 soccer players to 30 football players. Again, let's try simplifying. 2 goes into both, so 2 goes into 18 9 times, and 2 goes into 30 15 times. I can simplify again. 3 goes into 9 3 times, and 3 goes into 15 5 times. So I simplified those to where my answers would be 3 to 5, 3 colon 5, or 3 over 5. Three different ways to write it. Number 3, I can simplify 40 and 6. 2 goes into 40 20 times, and 2 goes into 6 3 times, and that's as far as I can simplify. So you could see your answer as 20 to 3 as a colon, 20 to 3 with words, or 20 over 3 as a ratio or fraction. Then you have number 4, 5 teachers to 90 students. 5 goes into 5 once, and 5 goes into 90 18 times. So you could see it written as 1 to 18, 1 colon 18, and then 1 over 18. So be prepared to see either. Now at number 5, 49 swimmers to 21 runners. 3 can go into both. 3 goes into 49. Oh, nope, 3 does not go into 19. Sorry. 7 times. 7 goes into 49 7 times. 7 goes into 21 3 times. So it could be 7 to 3, 7 colon 3, or 7 over 3. Then you have number 6, 75 cupcakes, 15 cookies. 5 goes into both. 5 goes into 75 15 times. 5 goes into 15 3 times. I can simplify again. 3 goes into 15 5 times, and 3 goes into 3 once. So I could write it as 5 to 1, 5 over 1, or 5 colon 1. Just for time's sake, going to continue on, because what we're doing today is not setting up ratios, but solving with ratios. Number 9 says the ratio of hot dogs to hamburgers sold at a baseball stadium is 8 colon 3. If 272 hot dogs were sold, how many hamburgers were sold? So I know, based off what they told me here, order does matter. Hot dogs to hamburgers means that 8 goes to hot dogs and 3 goes to hamburgers. And if I know that there were 272 hot dogs, I need to figure out how many hamburgers were sold. So we're going to set up a proportion where it's 8 to 3, 8 hot dogs, 3 hamburgers. And since I know 272 hot dogs, 272 goes in the numerator next to number 8. So then I have to solve by cross multiplying to figure out how many hamburgers there were. So remember, just like we did the other day, we're going to cross multiply 272 times 3 first. And then I'm going to divide 816 by 8. So how many hamburgers would I have? I would have 102 hamburgers. If I lost you on that, let's do that again. Number 10, the ratio of children to teachers at a preschool is 14 colon 5. How many children are at the preschool if there are 30 teachers? So ratio of children to teachers, which means 14 is children, and teachers would be 5. And if I know that there were 30 teachers, I have to figure out where 30 would go in my ratio. Well, 30 would go next to 5 teachers, and I have to figure out how many students there would be. Now, or children. Now, this is one of those cases where I can cross multiply, nothing wrong with it. So if I do 30 times 14, 0 times 4 is 0, 4 times 3 is 12, the 0, the 3, and that adds up to be 420. Then I would do 420 divided by 5. So it goes into 8, and then that's 4. So I know there would be 84 children. Now, I could have done this another way, where if you remember the other day we talked about, is there a shortcut when I'm solving? Well, I have to figure out how many times 5 goes into 30. Well, 5 goes into 36 times. So I can go ahead and just multiply 14 times 6, and that would give me a shortcut and still get 84. So think about which way is simpler. Now, if I had tried to do that over here, it would have been a little more complicated because I would have to figure out how many times 272 or 8 goes into 272. It goes into it, oh, not too bad. Goes into it 34 times. So then I would do 34 times 3. So lots of ways to do it without dealing with bigger numbers. So if I look at number 11, Malaya bought 32 pieces of candy for $16. The next day she returned to buy more candy with $4. How many pieces can she buy? Not necessarily the same verbiage we saw up here, but I know she got 32 pieces of candy for $16. So this is candy, this is dollars. And she went back to the store with $4. Well, where do I put $4 if this is 32 candies and this is $16? It needs to go in the denominator next to the 16. Let's see if we can use a shortcut here. How could I get from 16 to 4? Multiplying or dividing? Well, I would have to divide because it got smaller. Well, 16 divided by what would give me 4? 16 divided by 4 would give me 4, which means I can do the same thing in the numerator. 32 divided by 4 would be 8 because 8 times 4 is 32. So I would have 8 pieces of candy. Number 12. 3 out of 4 students in school have at least one sibling. So 3 out of 4 students have at least one sibling. If there are 300 students in your school, how many would have at least one sibling? So first they mentioned was 3 out of 4. 3 have at least one student, 4 out of 4 students. So where would I put the 300 students? I would put it in the denominator. Now I have to figure out how many times, how many students would have at least one sibling. Again, I can cross multiply if I want. 300 times 3 and then divide by 4. Nothing wrong with it. And I would divide by 4. And that would be 225. Then I could have also done nothing simpler, but just time's sake. I can divide 300 divided by 4 first. And get 75, and then I would do 75 times 3. And I would get 225. So lots of ways to do that there. Continuing on, the ratio of green to yellow candies is 2:5. If there are 32 green candies, how many total candies are there? So watch out for this one. The ratio of green to yellow, which means 2 green and 5 yellow. 5 yellow. If there are 32 green, so where would 32 go? Well, if the 2 is green and 5 is yellow, 32 would need to be in the numerator next to number 2. And that this would tell me how many missing yellow. Well, how do I get from 2 to 32? I could multiply by 16, and so I would do the same thing by 5. Or I could do 32 times 5, and then divide that by 2. So nothing wrong with it, because if I multiply 16 times 5, I would still get the same answer of 80. But wait, this wasn't asking how many yellow candies there were. It's asking how many total candies there are. Well, I know that there are 32 green, and I know that there are 80 yellow. So together, I would have to add 80 plus 32, which would give me 112. If I look at number 14, ratio of books to magazines would be 5 to 2. So 5 is books and 2 is magazines. If there are 225 books, so that would need to go next to books, 5, how many magazines would there be? So again, I can cross multiply 225 times 2, and then take that and divide by 5. and that would be 9D. Same thing I could have done would be 225 divided by 5 and then multiply